Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Crypto Live with Alex, featured by Trading Analysis. So in today's broadcast, we're gonna see only the crypto space. We're gonna look a couple of major cryptos and also some of them which I think are developing relatively positive chart patterns or kind of from technical perspective. As the broad overall macro themes are playing out, we still don't see that the liquidity is coming to the point where cryptos for now are still kind of a longer term investable assets. So we continue to track that, but a couple of cryptos I think has a still nice movement on the upside, which might result in a couple of months with a relatively nice upside. So we're going to look a couple of them. Also, if you have any comments and requests, you can put your charts that you would like me to see in the chat box, or any questions regarding the markets. Let's start. Let's look what's going on the Bitcoin overall. So let me just switch to a larger view, so we can look what we are seeing on the overall chart on the higher time frame. So let's see what has been going on. We did a couple of crypto labs ago a thorough analysis what is going on there. So from that broadcast, we didn't see anything major events on the Bitcoin. So I'm still continuing to look this as a potential fourth wave lows, although this consolidation below this weekly 200 moving average is relatively close to wave count invalidation levels. So we need to pay a very close attention to that from the Elliott Wave perspective. In the case we invalidate this potential 5-wave move, we have to switch to a more bearish scenario, which I did explain a couple of weeks ago. So I'm not going to go into the bearish scenario. I'm still going to look for a possible final move to the upside from this beginning of these lows here, from let's say end of 2018. So clearly this correction from 2017 to exactly this 200 moving average on weekly level was in a relatively complex correction. Complex because we had an intermediary move as a B wave triangle and then a 5-wave move down to 3K. And from there we have a positive development in a sense that this is clearly in an impulsive wave, 3-wave correction, and then we had a large uprise towards 69.74K, where we stayed, moved down, then moved up, and now we are moving lower. So still the question is how we should label this and how we look at it from the perspective of the possible completion of the Bitcoin move on the upside, and now we are working some type of an impulsive move down, which will break this invalidation, make a pullback, and then continue lower. So also there is a couple of other interpretation which I preferably like for now, that this is some type of a complex corrective pullback, possibly in a flat, which means that we are still in a line with the time ratios that kind of gives us a clue that this still might be some type of a potential flat, and we have one more push on the upside towards some of the previous highs and above for a possible fifth wave, or on a larger degree, orange wave 3. So I'm still going to look for this scenario as explained until we have a clear wave count invalidation. So the move from this 70K, which was exactly around November 2021, which market was predicted 100K. We warned about this, our members, and also we were among the rare ones to warn about this move lower, because the sentiment was so strong back then in 2020, beginning 2021, that actually everybody was bullish, looking for 150, 200, 500K. because the hype was pretty big. And of course, we didn't see that. We looked for a couple of fib ratios, and also sentiment, which is a very important, and actually looked for a potential reversal. But as I said, the big question is this is the final kind of a high, and we can label this as a fifth wave, which we have here, or this is a part of a larger correction and we're going to see more upside. So this is, I think, going to be resolved pretty soon. I'm still, as I said, holding to a bullish wave count, which means that I still expect one more push lower in this potential fourth wave. So if this RSI is also kind of position itself nicely on weekly, I like to look these larger time frames to get overall perspective. And this is one of the lowest points in the RSI in the Bitcoin history from 2011, 2010. So as you can see, a couple of these lows, and especially one in 2017, which was a pretty sizable drop, has been moving down to 30 mark. And lately we had this RSI move even below, I think, 24 or 24, 25. So in that perspective, this was the highest or biggest low achieved in the RSI in the Bitcoin last 12, 13 years. And also, if we measure some of the percentages of the previous fall, they account for, let's say, from 80 to 87%. Depends, let me just correct that. So also, this was 87%. This one was around, I think, a little bit less. Let me just see. This was 84. And currently, if we measure this one from here to the last low, we have been moving lower around 72%. So let's say we're going to go a little bit more lower. So we know the halving cycle comes around March 2021, and so far Bitcoin was following these halving cycles because all of these lows was a pre-halving cycle, roughly a year or a year and a half before we started moving further on the upside. We might have the same case here. I should time this around beginning of 2024, or sorry, 23. And the halving cycle is at March 2024. So usually in the previous cycles, which Bitcoin followed pretty nicely, we have seen a kind of a basing process first and then a sharp attempt to move further on the upside. So the problem here with this cycle is that liquidity in the system and of course the overall geopolitical and macro themes are not corresponding to the previous ones. Which is a relatively big hurdle, I will say. But nevertheless, I will say that potentially halving cycle will play the role, and we're going to see a move down in a wave 5 around, let's say, 14 to 16K in the next small cycle on the smaller time frame. So if we switch to a smaller time frame, we can subdivide this as a 5-wave move. Here, the wave 3 and wave 1 are equal. If somebody wants to measure them, you can. Just the sake of, even went a little bit further. And when you have a wave 1 and wave 3 close to equality, wave 5 should be a little bit extended, which we also kind of got here pretty much nicely. The correction was relatively nicely done in A, triangle B, up in C for the wave 2, and then the sharp move down started this relatively big move to the downside. Measurements kind of agrees. If we put the fib ratios, we went very close to 1.618 ratio, which is a standard measurement for the wave 3 projection. And currently we are seeing some type of a sideways consolidation. So when you are faced with this sideways consolidation, this can be a triangle or a flat or even ending diagonal. So for the ending diagonal, as I said, I'm still not looking for that, because we didn't break the support lows. Stocks possibly might make some pullback. I don't think that the move lower is yet finished. So I'm looking for a flat or a triangle. If we are in a triangle, we're gonna get some decent upside up to 22, 23. If it is a flat, we might touch this 200 moving average on daily and 38% retracement levels, which comes around 26K, 2580. So both of these options are in play now. If you are gonna see some bullish development here from these lows, if you count this as a wave 1 down in 2, you should see wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5 up to these levels, and then a rollover in the final 5-wave move. So in any case, after a 5-wave sequence, if we invalidate this or not, we're going to see at least a 3-wave pullback, especially if we invalidate this 13,826 as an invalidation level. So I do expect somewhere in January 2023 that we start either a next bull cycle or a decent correction up to between 27 and let's say 32, 35K on the upside. So we will see how this 5 waves on the downside will still unfold to complete the overall sequence. So the time ratio that we looked, that I also explained, we are kind of testing that pretty much. It goes to 618 ratio, which is one of the last ratios we look when we compare the time relation between the wave 2 and wave 4. It's this one. It comes around January 11th, 2023. So we don't like to see overall that we pass this ratio much, and then the wave 4 becomes relatively too large to be actually labeled as that. So we are close. We are approaching this very kind of a terminal time ratio, which usually we don't like to see crossed over, because then this whole thing becomes too much in relation to this one. And in most cases, this is the right observation. Okay, so I do think we're going to see one more push lower. In between, we might see a little bit of test again of this 200 moving average on the upside. On a daily chart, this is 38% retracement. This will be some type of an A wave down in B, and then from here we should start potentially a 5-wave move. In a triangle, we will reach, let's say, 22, 23, and this will be wave A, down in B, up in C, D, and E, and then we're going to see a flush lower. So I'm going to stay still constructive on a Bitcoin. On a smaller time frame, 1 hour, this might be a wave 1 or a wave A. Down in B, potentially still not finished, maybe a little bit more downside. So if we look for a measured move and some type of upside developments there, it comes a little bit lower. Not necessarily this has to be reached around 18,747. So potentially I'm going to look that for support levels, and then what I need to see is 5 waves up and a pullback above this channel, which is going to tell me that there is potentially more progress on the upside, because so far price action is really untradeable. As you can see, everybody who traded this most likely lost money, because it's a mess to trade all of this up and down development, and pretty scary for trading if you see. I mean, overall chart in general from this perspective has been sideways. What is the good thing is that according to the Glassnode on-chain analysis, only a handful of retail investors actually stayed alive. Most of them now are longer-term holders of Bitcoin, and they're not selling, as you can see. So we might be on a verge of kind of making a sustainable floor in this region from this 25 to 16K back and forth before we start to see some accumulation on the upside. So let's look what's going on Ether as well. We also did a thorough analysis on Ether. So Ether is, I think, in a little bit better position. I still do expect a little bit more of a downside. I already anchored a wave 4 here, which is not terminal thing. We might actually go with another push lower following Bitcoin. But I think Ether is holding very well, and the Ether Bitcoin cross is behaving relatively nicely, according to my opinion. We have been bullish on that one for a long time from here. This is still a very impulsive wave structure, which means that potentially Ether will surpass in the next move on the upside. Whatever happens with them, Ether will be a favorable, or it will fall less, or it will rise more in relation to the Bitcoin on a smaller time frame. I don't think this wave 2 potentially might be over. We might see some type of an ABC, but support should be around 0.62, 0.64 before we start developing some of the potential impulsive action. Of course, wave count invalidation of this impulsive rise will be at its lows, and the overall wave count is validated here around 0.0375. So still a lot of space in that. So this looks pretty impulsive from these lows. So I think Ether most likely is gonna, if we see a further rise according to this, let's say, hypothesis, Ether should be a favored one towards this target around 0.1426 in relation to Bitcoin before we see some larger correction. One of the cryptos I also like is Binance Coin. Not so clear from the technical perspective. I will show you my wave count in a sense that this is, I think I have a little bit better outlook on another feed. So let me just find that feed to show you how do I view Binance Coin on the upside. So, oh, this is not the one. Sorry, guys. Let me just find it. This is not the one. Still not the one. Yeah, it should be this one. Let's look Binance Coin. Overall, a relatively nice structure, as you can see. So we have been moving back and forth in this beginning phase, and then we started to move relatively sharp on the upside, which we always identify this kind of the event as a wave 3 of 3 in the sequence, because it has a relatively, oh, okay, wait, something has been moving here. Okay, so there is no wave degree invalidation here, which means that this wave 2 is relatively just a touch smaller than this one. So we can label this as a 1-2-1-2. And then this is a intermediary wave 3 where the correction might be over 1-6-1-8 or close to it. Maybe we are already in a beginning sequence with a little bit more downside. All this ending diagonal will extend into expanding version. But nevertheless, I don't see Binance Coin still on the bearish path for now. This intermediary wave 3 wave count invalidation comes around 29. We are trading at 271. So I don't see this as only if we really collapsed lower. So I'm going to pay attention on this also, especially these lows here. And I'm looking on a smaller time frame what's going on with the Binance Coin. If we go and look on a smaller time frame, there is a very tricky from the Elliott Wave point wave developments here. There is a couple of ways you can count this on the upside, but the counter trend move for now looks complex. There's an ABC, some type of an X wave, and then maybe a little bit more upside and a final push to the downside. So I think overall on the general outlook, I think it still looks good. And also from the perspective of the RSI, which was also at the lowest level, we have some type of a 5-wave move. We are in some type of consolidation. So Binance Coin also looks relatively nice. So the fourth one I'm looking is Matic, which has a kind of a nice wave structure as well. Wave 2 was a pretty complex affair, lasting pretty long. So guideline of alternation say that if wave 2 is complex, which is a rare thing, you're going to have probably a very short time relation between the wave 4 and wave 2. In this case, this is 0.618, almost exactly here. So I do label this as an ABC. and look this as a potential beginning upside sequence, also with a little bit more corrective to last if the Bitcoin gonna move lower before we start pushing further higher. So I do also like technically this one. We could not identify anything similar except this wave 4 here as a potential fourth wave. Some of the Fib ratios relatively nicely matches. We came to 38.2% retracement, which is a usual ratio for the wave 4. There is also a couple of others ratios we can derive. Also, I will mention that my crypto Fib course will be soon out, so maybe you would like to check that. So in general, I do think this is a potentially some type of a setup which is on our list definitely to follow it on the next potential bullish rise towards some of these Fib clusters in Matic. So there is a couple of others, but we will save them for the next week, guys. So let me see your thoughts. Do you find this analysis kind of appealing, or if you have any opinions, of course, it is welcome. We as analysts and traders, which kind of combine different disciplines, usually want to match, as I said before, macro and crypto outlook, because since 2021, my thesis was that, of course, cryptos are behaving as the tech sector or a high beta volatile asset on NASDAQ. So that has been proven through many correlations. So until I think some of the liquidity or a Fed pivot or a Fed pause or anything of that sort comes out soon, that might push stocks on the upside and bring back some portion of liquidity that will be reflected on cryptos as well. So let me look a couple of your comments, and potentially we'll look one or two charts from your side, and then we will close this out. Of course, if you like some crypto guidance, we have an extensive service at Trading Analysis. We're going to do most likely in a month or 25 days another end-year webinar looking what's going on a couple of cryptos as well in a more deeper manner. So I will let you know where this is going to come. And let me look. I do not actually look the stocks too much here, only in relation to cryptos. There is a couple of them, but our members has a view which one we are tracking, which are looking relatively bullish. So let me look a couple of Ethereum 1 hour. Not much to see there. I mean, shorter time frame. Usually, I don't like them much. Not because but I mean, in this type of situation, I do look some type also or a triangle or a flat. So this is a 3-wave correction. We are also in a big sideways consolidation, a really messy thing. You want to avoid all of this, especially if you want to trade it. So this is just a kind of a messy thing, as you can see here. So I'm still kind of looking the clues, what's going on there. So either this is some type of an ABC. I still need to see more upside or a 5-wave move. So it is, I mean, unclear. I do have a slightly bullish bias currently, either from a little bit lower level or from here, but I'm still waiting some type of a confirmation for a possible kind of a small breakout. But this is a kind of a small time frames. I like to look and position for something like this or a bigger corrections. I think that's much more useful than looking the smaller time frames. But anyhow, I mean, as a guest here, we do come forward and try to help you as well. So Hi Oleg, hi Schnitzel, Eva, hello Eva. Yeah, okay, thank you for the format. It's going to be a little bit shorter. Macro is really important, but we're gonna save that for our members. Um, and I think it's very important to track that anyhow. Okay, so let me look. Chiliz, I think we looked Chiliz last time. But it is a interesting chart, so let's look at it again. Let's see what's cooking there. Yeah, Chiliz is, I think, still in some type of a corrective pullback. So we have labeled this, I think, before, um, that this is a beginning five-wave sequence. So I think we are still in a corrective pullback here. It's kind of functions nicely. I think we labeled these resistance levels before, and they acted pretty nicely. Wave 5 actually just entered that zone and then moved in a five-wave move. So we might see some type of a pullback soon on the upside, and then a final potential push lower. So from these highs, we have seen only three-wave move lower. So we can work with the hypothesis that Chiliz, after a pullback, is going to have at least one more leg higher as a measured move. So measured move means that from the beginning, first impulsive move after a correction will project itself in the same manner and in the same magnitude as the one here. Okay, so that's why we are calling the measured move. Okay, so let's look Quant and let's finish up this. As I said, I think Quant has a kind of a nice development chart. So I was looking for a move lower with our members a couple of days ago, which is now happening, as you can see. So I do think that this is some type of a 1-2-1-2. We have to be careful with the wave degree invalidation. So I'm tracking this for our members. There is a couple of members which are having exposure on this Quant. So I think we did a good job with it, announcing highs for a pullback. And then now I'm waiting to see what is going to happen. Overall, chart relatively looks good on the higher time frames. This is just a three-wave pullback. And this might be either an X wave and then we go another move lower because this can become complex. But I think this is going to be resolved very easily when I see the magnitude of this possible wave 2. So it cannot surpass the length of this one because that will be a wave degree invalidation. So I'm monitoring this for our members pretty carefully. So thank you guys for being with us. I hope you have some use of this outlook and our analysis. And again, if you look for a solid crypto service, I will gladly invite you to check us out. We have kept most of our members pretty much secure during all of this retail wiped out that we witnessed, just because we had a pretty good timing analysis and warned about the many things in advance that actually was portrayed by many either on YouTube or even hedge fund managers as a big upside potential in cryptos, which actually failed. So see you guys next week, and click if you like, click like button and subscribe. As I said, these daily updates will become more frequent during the week. So if you want to have a notification in advance, you might want to subscribe, and it's going to help us for our contact. So see you guys next week. Bye bye.